So, welcome to the Fuck Therapy podcast. I am super excited today to have Laura Burrell. Have I pronounced that right, Burrell?
That's how most Australians like to pronounce it, but in New Zealand we say Burrell.
Burrell. Okay, so
Yeah.
Laura Burrell with us today. She is a 24-year-old, originally from New Zealand, moved over to Australia in 2024, March 2024 to be specific, and then in April 2024 had a horrific incident with a horse. Now, we're going to get into that story a little bit later on. She is a track rider, and she is actually well known as being an ex-racehorse rehomer. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so my involvement, so I am most known for my connections in the racing industry and I guess to the side of the racing industry. So my introduction to the racing industry was through racehorse rehoming.
Yeah.
So I started rehoming harness racing horses, so standard breds, and then I eventually got into thoroughbred rehoming. And I grew such a love for the ex-race horses that I was like, you know what? It's fun rehoming them being retired, but I actually want to be with them during their careers and be part of their journeys on the track.
Unbelievable.
So I eventually became a harness racing stable hand, and I did a little bit of driving in New Zealand, and then eventually became a track rider, riding gallopers, and then held both of those roles, and then kind of did the same thing when I moved to Australia. That's still what I do.
That is incredible. That is incredible. Talk about racehorse rehoming. So, we have only recently met, so there's a fair bit about my background. Most of my listeners don't know about because it's not necessarily relevant, or I'm probably really terrible at social media, and I sort of give and don't tell much about me. So this is a little bit more about me and my background, but I had an ex-racehorse when I used to ride English in the early days. So I was doing 3-day eventing before I got into the Western world.
Wow.
And I used to do show jumping, those sorts of things. And I got an ex-racehorse, full blood brother to Hyperno.
Oh, wow.
And the reason it came to me was no one could ride this horse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this horse was crazy. We would go around the block sideways, up, down, back, all those sorts of things. And over time, I got this horse better and better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
But could this horse jump?
Wow.
It could jump. So as a little kid, I used to work part-time at the VEC, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Victorian Equestrian Centre. And they
Yeah.
used to have show jumping competitions. And one year they ran the World Show Jumping Championships out of the
Mm-hmm.
VEC. And I was one of the staff. I was the little kid that used to run out when the poles fell over. I would run out to the poles and put them back up, right?
Yeah. It's a very important job, I'll have you know.
It is a very important job. It is a very important job. But one of the things was, once the competition was done, we got to do the course.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, the competition came down to two people. They then put the jumps up and wider and all those sorts of things. And they both did a final round. And one of them knocked two rails, one knocked one.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Winner of the competition done. And I was like, I get a chance to do this now.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, you don't get a chance to do that. They go, no, we'll drop everything. And I go, no, bullshit. I've gone, my horse will do that.
Wow.
Right. And they're
Yeah.
like, so anyway, I go out, warm my horse up. And they're like, righto, smartass, like, give that a crack. And I went and did a clear round on this horse.
Wow.
After that competition.
Wow.
I would have been 15 years old.
Wow. Wow. You
I-
should have been in the competition.
Well, I got a $30,000 offer for that horse back in those days. So you're talking
Wow.
40 years, well, 35, 40 years ago or something.
I don't even know how much they'd be worth now, but that'd be a lot of money.
A lot of money now. And I thought I could get a bit more out of it, and I turned that offer down, and I could have got more money, except 2 weeks later I had to put the horse down.
No. Why is that always the way with horses?
I know.
Oh.
I always struggled to keep weight on this horse.
Mm-hmm.
And turns out that its liver and kidneys were just not in a good place.
Wow.
We had to put the horse down 2 weeks later.
Wow. In a way, though, you're lucky that happened while it was still in your ownership, because imagine if the new owners had it and then it had passed away in their hands, then they would have been
No,
like, did you know about this? And you'd be
I
like,
know,
no, I had no idea.
I know. But I would have had $30,000 in my pocket to be.
Yeah, that's true.
I think there would have been trouble in the camp, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's the way it is. So let's go to this incident
Mhm.
with the horse, because at the end of the day, you were sharing your story on social media, and I think it was on TikTok. I think it was where I saw your story originally,
Yeah.
and it instantly, you as a woman, the story I could resonate to being in the horse industry. But your power, your mindset, your grit, your resilience, your courage, your bravery, your determination, all wrapped up in this beautiful, kind, compassionate, empathetic woman just took to my heart. And I had to reach out to you and go, will you share this story with
Wow.
some other women that need to be uplifted, that need to be raised, that need to recognize that they're not alone. And even though their battles are different,
Mhm.
how powerful putting your mind in the right place is. So, to start with, can you just run us through this incident and what happened to you?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I moved to Australia the very last day of March, and I flew in on a Sunday and I began working on the Monday, so I got straight into it. And the first job that I had in Australia, I ended up not entirely thinking it was the right fit for me. Like, it was a great stable and I loved the people there and I absolutely adored the horses. But I was like, I kind of want to see what's out there. Like, I'm new to Australia. I'd like to find something else. So I found another job in Australia across the road from the stable that I was working at, I guess a few days before. And I was at the stable for 2 days, and the accident happened on the second day.
Wow.
So it was, yeah, pretty shell-shocking
Yeah.
experience. It's not what you expect the new person to do at their job, is essentially what happened to me. But basically, what happened is the last thing that I can remember is I walked up to a thoroughbred horse and I put a headstool on it, so I was catching it, and I took its summer rug off because it was the end of April, so it was rather warm. And I led it over with a lead rope to my colleague, and she said to me, "Right, we're just going to cross the road and we're going to go take it swimming at the pool next door," because that's quite a common practice in all horse sports, but especially
Yes.
in racing, is that we like to swim them to keep their fitness levels up.
Yep.
So essentially, the pool was just like a big circle, and it has like a walkway in the middle that like we walk around and the horses swim around the outside. And essentially, you just get them to do a couple of laps, or maybe just in there for like a duration of time, usually 5-10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
But I have no recollection of being at the pool at all. So
Right.
the last thing I remember is taking the horse to my colleague. But apparently, from what I've been told from everyone that was at the scene of the accident, and I have actually also been told that it is on surveillance footage, and I haven't watched it yet, but I would like
Yeah.
to. I would actually really appreciate watching it, because not so much it's not going to affect me in any way. It's more that I just want to know what impact my accident had on everyone else, and I kind of want to see who was kind of involved with it and see it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Is why I'd like to see it. But essentially, the horse did a couple laps of the pool and it became quite uncomfortable. It just decided that it didn't really want to be in the water anymore. So my colleague led the horse out of the pool, and it was standing nowhere like too close to me, nothing from what I've been told. Like I said, I haven't seen the footage yet. And so I'm standing kind of like behind the horse at a safe distance, and the horse was showing no signs of anxiety or stress or nothing. It was just standing there as calm as day, and it just lashed out with one of its back legs. And when it striked out, it kicked me straight in the head. And the kick was so severe that it completely removed my nose, and it put a big laceration above this eye.
Now, I'm pretty sure you put the pictures of this up on
Hmm.
post I saw.
Yes.
So I'm seeing the image in my head at the moment.
Hmm.
I've not long had breakfast. Those that don't know, like literally your entire nose was removed.
Yes. Yes.
So it's quite a horrific head injury to do that.
Yeah, it was quite a lot of force. Like, what people that aren't with horses, I mean, everyone kind of understands how big they are, but generally racehorses are at least 500-600 kgs.
Yep.
So I had about 500-600 kgs of an animal using all of its power just to lash out with one of its legs. So it was quite severe. But essentially, I instantly was knocked unconscious, and they actually had to resuscitate me. But the ambulance, so I think about five to seven, depending on who you talk to, ambulances arrived and a helicopter arrived, and they had to apparently resuscitate me on the scene.
Oh my
But they
God.
have said to me that they had a lot of trouble resuscitating me because my nose was completely gone. There was nothing that they could do to put an oxygen mask or anything on me.
Yeah.
So there was troubles with that. But
So
essentially,
you effectively taught them a new technique.
apparently, yeah, you don't need a nose.
You're in the new training manual. So
Yeah.
if you're ever in a situation and there is no nose,
Yeah, well, apparently the ambulance officers were saying to a lot of the people, because we were at another stable, like I said, we were across the road from our stable using somebody else's pool. So we were at another stable that is actually one of the largest, most successful galloping stables in Australia. So
right?
there was a lot of people there.
Yeah,
And yeah, apparently they were running around after the poor ambulance officers, like, you have to hold this, do this. And they're like, she has no nose. Like, how am I
yeah.
supposed to do this? But
Do you
essentially,
know? Sorry, just before we go on, have you
mhm.
ever seen? This is a really old video of horses, but it's called Horses in Motion.
That name, I know what that is, but I don't like. I know that name, but I can't picture it in my head.
It breaks down horse movement, so you
Right.
literally get to see
Hmm.
how a horse moves at
Yeah.
different gaits.
Yeah.
And when a horse is galloping, they
Mhm.
will put down 3,000 pounds per square inch
Wow.
into the ground.
Wow.
So when we transfer that into a kick, which is very similar,
Hmm.
you're
Hmm.
talking about 600 kilo of horse, you're talking 3,000 pound per square inch going through your face.
Wow. Wow. It's crazy to think of it like that.
3,000 pounds per square inch.
Wow.
Like, praise God you're still here.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane thinking about it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But essentially, they resuscitated me or whatever was necessary, and they got me in the helicopter and they flew me because the accident was in Miners Rest in Ballarat. So they flew me from Ballarat to the Royal Melbourne, and I was straight away put through quite an extensive plastic surgery, which, like, as you can tell, it isn't immediately obvious that I've had plastic surgery. They did a very good job. There is like
Incredible.
there's a little bit of a scar to the side, but even
Wow.
it's hardly that visible. But I did put on lots of scar creams and that kind of thing recommended by the doctors when I was in hospital and when I was discharged, but it's incredible. And so they did this quite extensive plastic surgery on me and then put me in a medically induced coma for a week and had me on a ventilator and a life support and that kind of thing.
Mm.
And Racing Victoria, the Victorian thoroughbred racing industry, kindly flew a lot of my family members over to come and see me from New
Wow.
Zealand.
Beautiful.
So my parents and my cousin and my flatmate at the time in New Zealand all flew and spent like day in and day out in my hospital room with me. And I
Beautiful.
also got told that it's very common practice in modern medicine that when someone's in a coma, they put on a speaker. So the doctors asked my family and friends, what kind of music does Laura like to listen to? And they said Taylor Swift, which I don't listen to her all the time, but I used to play all of her songs off by heart on the guitar as a small
Right.
girl, I guess. And so that just it brings a lot of like joy to me when I hear her music now and just think like my friends and family would have just been in my hospital room listening
Yeah.
to that too. Yeah, so
Incredible.
I was in a coma for a week and then eventually I woke up, but my brain was so damaged. I had a level 3 brain injury, which is just about as high as you can go. 4 is as high as you can go, and I was a 3.
Yep.
And so I have no recollection of waking up or anything, but essentially I was in this kind of zombie state for about 5 more weeks. And then one day I like woke up in my hospital room and I noticed my cousin from New Zealand who's like the love of my life. Her and I like we just get on like a house on fire and we're
Yep.
attached at the hip. And I like saw her sitting across from me staring at me and I was like, and her name's Dara. And I said to her, Dara, and she said yes. And you're gonna have to mind my language, but this is what I said. I
I would
said,
love it.
I said, Dara, what the fuck are you doing in Australia? And she was like, what? And she like looked at me really confused because little did I know that she had been speaking to me like day in and day out for 5 weeks in Australia. And she was like, Laura, I've been with you in hospital for 5 weeks. And I was like, hospital? And then I like looked around and I was like, oh. And then I said, what happened to me? And she was like, she's like, I prefer not to tell you. We can wait till later. So then my ex-partner came in and he eventually told me what happened and that kind of thing. But yeah, so apparently I was on a medical induced coma for a week and then this zombie state for about 5 more weeks.
Whoa. Oh. And
Yeah.
that's now, and is there any recollection come back from then, or is that just now gone?
No, so like I said, the last thing I can remember is like pre-accident, like catching
Yeah.
the horse, that kind of thing. There's actually a few little things that I can remember being in hospital, which is really weird because I had such damage to my eye, like the huge laceration above it. They had an eye patch on me, which I should not be able to remember because they only had an eye patch on me when I was in a coma and when they first woke me up from a coma. Like as soon as I was awake, apparently they took it off.
Right.
But I remember this eye patch, and I remember looking at my dad and saying something to him, and I probably swore because I'm a New Zealander, and let's be honest, New Zealanders swear every second word. And I remember my father saying to me, "Well, she looks like a sailor, and she has a mouth like one too."
Yeah.
And I remember that. I remember that, which is like so
That's
bizarre.
interesting.
And there's a few other things because I went to 3 different hospitals depending on like my stage of my recovery, that kind of thing. Because that's with brain injuries, they like to move you around to different rehabilitation hospitals.
Yeah.
And I can remember little snippets from each kind of one, but one in particular, which was at Epworth Hospital. So what happened is at this point of time, this was like the second hospital I was taken to after the Royal Melbourne. They wanted me to be in as low of a stimulus environment as possible. So they had me in a bed which was quite high off the ground, and this bed had like floor to ceiling walls basically. Like I couldn't see out of it, nothing. And
Wow.
this is what they wanted me in because they essentially want your brain just to be so like lowly stimulated.
Yep.
So I was in this bed 24/7, but in the evenings they would put the walls down and they'd actually let me watch a little bit of TV, or like my friends and family would come in and visit me and I could talk to them. Not that I had any recollection of this, I just remember this one specific memory.
Yeah.
But one evening I really needed to go to the bathroom and they had the walls down.
Yep.
And like I'm quite high off the ground. And also bear in mind at this point of time, because of my brain injury, 50% of my body was paralyzed because the kick was so severe to the left side of my brain. The right side of my body became paralyzed because opposite sides of your brain control opposite sides of your body. So bear in mind, I am 50% paralyzed, can't even move my fingers, nothing. Anyway, I like saw that the walls were down and I just needed to go to the bathroom. So I jumped down, went to the bathroom, and then I came back in and I stared at this bed and I was like, oh my goodness, how the heck am I going to get up here? Because there's no ladder or nothing for me to get up. So the doctors and nurses actually happened to be walking past and they saw me standing in the middle of my room just staring at my bed and they were like, Laura, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry, I just didn't want to disrupt you. I just needed to go to the bathroom. So there are like little snippets of things like that I can remember, but hardly. Like,
Yeah.
so essentially, I remember all my life and everything. I've suffered no memory loss, like pre-accident and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But from the morning before the accident happened till 6 weeks later, it's basically nothing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Incredible. One thing I'm thinking about at the moment is I'm listening to your tonality. I'm listening to the way in which you're sharing the story and so forth. And you're not coming across as the victim. Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, I guess I get that quite a lot in terms of when people hear about my injury and stuff, like they go like, how do you feel? Or like, how are you doing? And that kind of thing. But essentially I just view this accident as I've always viewed everything in my life, is that yes, it happened to me and I can't go back and change it or like do anything. There's no such thing as a time machine, and trust me, if there was, I'm sure we would all have used them a million times by now. But that isn't, so it's very much like, right, these are the cards I've been dealt. This is what I'm having to deal with, and now I'm just going to have to find a way to get on with it, really. And so, like, I don't feel victimized or anything by my accident at all, or see myself like that in any way. In
Yeah.
fact, I've always said to, from my friends and family to the people that follow me on social media, just to everyone on the outside, they're the ones who I feel the most for in this accident, because they not only had to deal with the messy accident scene, but the paranoia, is she going to make it to hospital, or see me hooked up to these machines, or like, they had to go through all of it. But essentially, I just went to work one morning, I had a 6-week nap, and then I got up. So I just feel so much more sorry for the people that were getting these little snippets, or the people on the outside, because for me, I do not mentally feel affected negatively in any way.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do you know what trauma is?
Yes.
How would you define it?
Um, Trying to think way to describe it. For me, trauma is kind of when you have been affected by something. It's usually a negative effect of something, but it's kind of like the way that it then continues to affect you, is how I'd kind of try describe it. It's kind of like a hard thing to describe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's so powerful because many of the women that I work with have grappled with, significant traumas in their past of completely different nature, but still how we process trauma is how we process trauma. You went through a traumatic experience and you
Mhm.
had a traumatic event.
Mhm.
The reason that you're not traumatized is because trauma is the way you psychologically process a traumatic event and experience.
Mhm.
But because of your mindset and your acceptance, radical acceptance of what is, and your mindset and drive to look forward, trauma doesn't reside with you. It
Mhm.
now sits in the past. The
Mhm.
past doesn't exist, therefore it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
The future is what is, and
Mhm.
you're now navigating what is with
Mhm.
optimism.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you are the absolute perfect example of a lived experience
Mhm.
and the way in which choice,
Mhm.
how I choose to process this,
Mhm.
what direction I choose to look in, the status, what I choose to tell myself about it, because
Mhm.
we get caught up in the story.
Yes.
So many women have been in a horrific relationship, and
Mhm.
based on that, they tell themselves the story based on the manipulation and the coercion that they're not
Mhm.
worth it.
Mhm.
And then they move forward as if they're not worth it, which
Mhm.
becomes their trauma.
Yes. Yes.
But you've chosen to go down a different path. Now we're talking different things, and we completely understand that.
Yes.
However, the formula is the same. And it's
Yeah.
so powerful to recognize the fact that your level of ability to simply accept,
Mhm.
and I've gone down the same path. So I was a farrier by trade, as we spoke about. And at age
Mhm.
25, I collapsed one day. And my incident wasn't a one of, I was in critical pain for a long, long time. I was
Okay.
eating painkillers by
Wow.
boxes.
Wow.
And I had been smashed up and pretty damaged for a long time. And
Mhm.
one day on a Saturday morning, I bent down to get under a horse to shoe the horse. And I bent down and I was in such horrific pain. And I'm thinking, I can't straighten my back. Like I was down in, farrier position
Yeah.
near front foot, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going, so I literally dragged the anvil off the back of the car. I used to fit the shoes up to patterns, so I'd done this horse many times before. I finished the horse without standing up.
Mhm.
And I literally grabbed the money and she said, Jamie, you look like death.
Wow.
And I'm like, I actually feel like death.
Yeah.
I got in my truck and I used to drive an F100. And of
Yeah.
course, I'm like, bloody need fuel, right?
Typical.
And I go to the service station to fill up and I go to step out of the car and landed on my head because
Oh,
my legs had stopped working.
wow.
So, kind of in your style, and we're going to get into this,
Mhm.
and nothing as horrific as yours, but my legs weren't working and I needed
Wow.
gas. So I literally, with my elbows, shimmied across, grabbed the control, stuck it on the gas thing, dragged myself across the servo ground,
Oh my goodness.
threw the money at the lady, dragged myself back. And then it took me nearly 45 minutes to get up into the cab because I couldn't get up.
Oh,
Did I think of asking for help? No.
no, because it sounds like you're the same as me, and I would have most definitely done the same thing.
But once I had gone through all the stuff and realized, the damage that had been done and all
Mhm,
these sorts of things, I lost at the time my business straight away.
mhm,
I could no
mhm.
longer shoot horses. I lost my hobby. I used to break horses, train horses, compete in cutting, rodeos, all those sorts of things.
Wow.
Instantly
Mhm,
gone.
mhm.
My fiance became very, very abusive and so forth, and was cheating on me and those sorts of things. And I had a daughter, and I had to move us out. She took my house, so I lost my house that I paid for. So I'm in this downward spiral, and it was like, okay, what now?
Mhm, mhm,
I remember looking at the roof when my legs weren't still working properly, and I was counting the pine knots in
mhm,
the
mhm.
in the roof, and then it dawned on me, it's like I'm bloody good at maths. I'm not real smart, like I'm dyslexic, ADHD, so I'm no good at the writing stuff, but I'm good at numbers. I'm good at sales. I'm going to become a financial planner.
Wow.
And it was the same thing,
Wow.
acceptance. What can I do to drive my
Mm.
life forward?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
and 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 that's the process. And it's the fastest way to recovery. Pain is caused when we resist reality.
Mhm,
We've
mhm.
accepted reality and gone, what happened? Oh, listen, all that really happened is I slept for a little while. I had my nose ripped off my head. I had a grade 3 brain injury.
Yep.
Don't really recall too much. So when can I get back to work?
Yeah, literally. Literally.
So maybe we
You just said my CV right there. Thank you, Jamie.
you're welcome. Welcome. Some may argue that we may have had a level 2 before we started. Now, I want to talk about the incident with the horse because there's going to be a few questions raised about that. Now,
Mhm,
I worked around horses my entire life.
mhm,
Shit happens,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
You were standing at an appropriate distance.
mhm.
So now we have to put into context that we're not pony clubbers here. We're professionals that work in the horse industry all day, every single day,
Yep.
right? And we
Live
operate
and breathe it.
that way.
Mhm,
I know you've had people put in negative comments about where you should have been standing or shouldn't been standing. You know, I just want to say from my perspective, like that's just a load of BS,
mhm.
right? It's if we operated on what coulda, shoulda, woulda, we'd never get our work done,
No.
right? And we operate in the safest way we know how. We're
Mhm,
very able to tune into horses,
mhm,
but sometimes shit happens.
mhm, mhm.
That's that's as simple as it is.
Yeah, it's just the reality of it.
you know. So, and I know you've experienced some of those negative comments. What have you got to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's essentially like you were saying, but at the end of the day, it is an accident for a reason because it is an accident. Like, yes, it was by a horse, but I could have had these maybe not like my nose falling off or whatever, but essentially when I was at these brain injury hospital rehabilitation centres, I would ask the other patients, like, if you don't mind telling me, like, why are you in here, that kind of thing, and that we'd just sit around and would talk, and a lot of them were truck drivers or they walked across the road at the wrong time and got hit by a car. Like, they were very standard things that everybody else does every single day. Like, Who around here doesn't drive their car at least every day, if not every second day? Like we all do. A lot of these people were just simply driving their car to work or whatever when these things happened. And that's what I just have made clear to try to make clear to my social media followers from the get-go is this was an accident. I could have been doing anything else. It didn't necessarily have to be with horses or whatnot. But as people who work with horses are well aware, like yourself, they are their own animals and they have their own brains and they are capable of doing things whenever they want and they don't necessarily pre-emphasize things or think things. Like I highly doubt that horse was thinking, hey, that lady's standing a few meters behind me, how about I kick out and see if I can rip her nose off and send her to hospital?
No,
I don't think he was thinking that,
not at all.
or she. I just essentially think they are reactive animals that react to situations around them. Like maybe something caught it off guard by fright and they are naturally flight animals and it just freaked out and did something. Although I've been told it was standing there very calmly. It couldn't say that something suddenly happened and it got a fright. But regardless, at the end of the day, all that anyone needs to remember, it was an accident.
Yeah. And here's the other part of that. Just because we didn't observe what the horse observed, it experienced something to create the reaction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? And we may never have the answer to that.
No.
Right? And nor is it relevant. It happened. Right?
It did. It did.
You
And
know?
it's how I've always lived my life. Is my mum used to she used to get really annoyed with me as a child because through primary school, like girls or boys would like bully me or whatever, and I just like let it go because my whole life, even to this day, I don't have bad blood or anything against anyone because I just choose to like let it go and just to move on. Like it doesn't mean that I'm gonna be their best mate and like wrap my arm around them like, hey, how's it going? But like it takes so much energy to be negative and to have so much anger towards people that I just let things go. So it's like with this accident and everything, I'm like, cool, it's happened, got to move on. Like, what's the point in sitting in the past?
Yeah, 100%.
Whether it's a conversation that you had with someone at primary school that like sent you home in tears or an accident with a racehorse at work one day, like it's happened, it's been there, that's in the past. What you need to focus on is how you're going to move forward.
100%, 100%. It's so powerful to let go. I often say to people, assume you have only 10 compartments in your heart. Just picture it that way for a minute. How many of those 10 are you going to allocate to hate? And what you're saying is none.
None.
That's how we should live. So I commend you for that. I think it's a fantastic way to live. Because when you can't move forward, what's the alternative? To live in the past. And if you can't move forward, you're not moving forward because something negative. And therefore you're saying, I choose to stay with something negative versus driving your life forward.
Yeah, and I always think back to what my granddad used to say when I was a little girl. He'd be like, Laura, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I always think that, and that's very similar to like my mindset too. I'm like, cool, I could like sit in this place of like disappointment or negativity, or maybe I could like be angry that I went to work that day and that this horse kicked me. Like I could have so much resent or hate against this animal if I wanted to. And everyone would be like, yeah, that's totally acceptable, but I don't. In fact, if I ever saw that horse again, I'd probably go up and give it a carrot or a hug. I'd like wrap my arms around it because it didn't want to like send me off to the hospital. It probably did that and then went, what is all this commotion? Why are there so many ambulances? What's happening? So, like nothing changes if nothing changes. So why sit in these mindsets or these places? Like we just need to find, inspiration and change to get out.
Correct. I look and go, there are lessons, wisdom, knowledge, and experience in everything that we go through. And life, I subscribe to the fact that life happens for you and not to you. And therefore, we have an experience. We're then able to learn the lessons, wisdom, knowledge, and experience, whatever that may be. And once we do that, it's served its purpose. We can put it down and we're not holding the past.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful to drive our life forward.
Yes.
So talking about driving our life forward, you are now towards the end of your stay in hospital. Take us from there.
Yeah, so towards the end of my stay in hospital, things started to get more, I guess, like physical and stuff. So they went from me being in like a low stimulus environment as possible, like in this bed that's like, had the walls and that kind of thing, to me being in a pretty standard hospital room. And they would like come in and give us like meals at like scheduled times a day, and we had like free reign, like we could walk outside and do that kind of thing, which I loved because being, around horses all the time, like I live and breathe the outdoors. Like I'm usually outside from 3 o'clock in the morning till sometimes like 8 o'clock at night. And I'd gone from that environment from my whole
Yes.
childhood to my adult life to now being in a hospital. I was going insane. So I would go for like walks outside and that kind of thing. And then they were getting me going to go to physio, which these physio things were just essentially, originally it was getting me to stand. They weren't even able to get me to stand. So I actually have a very clear memory of this, is that my physio came in and she was like, right, we're gonna try and get you standing. And I was like, cool. And like I had a friendly conversation with her and whatever, and I was like, right. And I like just wanted to get up. So I tried to get up and my heart rate dropped and I felt really faint. And as a teenager, I had a history of fainting all the time. So it is something that I'm very aware of when I'm very body aware. Like I always have been, but I'm very aware that I'm like, my body's telling me that it wants to faint. So I said that to my physio. I was like, my body is like wanting to faint. I was like, I don't feel good. And so she laid me back on the bed, and that's when they got the heart monitor and saw that I was dropping. And she was like, I'm sorry, Laura. She said, we're going to have to try and get you standing another day. And then she left, and I was just like mortified. I
Wow.
was like, all I want in the whole entire world right now is to be standing or like with my friends and family or my horses. And I'm like half fainting in a hospital bed. Like, I was like, oh wow. But again, I felt no anger or resentment that I was in a hospital bed. I was just feeling more hopeful for what was to come, and wanting to be already out there doing what was to come.
Yeah.
So eventually the physio sessions, she got me walking. She had like quite a kind of like a knee brace. Yeah, I don't know the proper medical term for it, but it was like a bit of plastic that went behind my whole like lower leg, essentially from the back of my knee to my ankle, and it was quite
That's
firm. Yeah, and essentially that was just to support my paralyzed leg because it had the habit of like locking or like just being a bit flimsy. So I just wanted to give it a bit more support. So I had that on for like a few weeks, and then they upgraded me just to like a elasticated knee brace, and that was cool. And I remember in one of these physio sessions, my physio was like, right, Laura. And I was like, yeah. She was like, you are not to walk up or down any stairs of any kind. And I said, excuse me? She's like, you do not have the coordination to, and you do not have the ability to. Like, I was walking at this point in time, but, like a little bit limpy, a little bit slow. Like, if most people saw me, like, it'd be fine. I'd pass in public as somebody walking, but, like, from a medical point of view, I was not walking.
oh,
And, yeah, so she said to me, you're not to go up and down stairs. Anyway, there were a set of stairs in my physio room, and I looked at them, and I looked at her, and I didn't say anything. I literally crossed my arms like this, and I like hobbled over to the flight of stairs, and she was like, and she didn't even say anything. She was just so like, oh no, what is this girl going to do? I walked up them, up them, down them with my arms crossed, and she was like, oh my goodness. And then we then walked back to my hospital ward, and she's like, Laura, I understand that you like live in the outdoors and stuff, but she said you only should be walking on solid ground like pavement and that kind of thing, because your body's just not going to have the ability to walk on anything that's not solid. And so like I was like, oh, why does she keep doing this to me? So like I like acknowledged her and I like listened to her, and then I just walked off the path onto the grass, and she was like, and then like beside the grass there's a bit of gravel, and I just walked over that, and she was like, oh my goodness. So it's safe to say she got me back to my hospital room or ward that day very promptly.
Yep. Yep. Feeling dejected, going, what do I know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, essentially. And also, I remember saying to my physio, because I love running. I mean, I'm a member of the gym in our community, and I go on the treadmill every single day.
Yep.
And before my accident, I was just running 5K runs for fun.
Yep.
Like I don't like I'm not up to running that distance yet. I'm not fit enough. But now I look back at that and I'm like, how did I do that? And I would just do that for fun. Like I'd have a lunch break and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to go for a run.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I remember saying to my physio, I was like, when can I run again? And she'd be like, Laura, we just need to get you walking. We just need you walking first before we even think about running.
Yeah.
And that, because it was always my mindset was just, what's next? What's next?
Yes.
I just never wanted to be stuck. I was like focusing on the bigger picture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. This brings me to two of my favorite sayings, right? First saying is whether you believe you can or you can't, you are always right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a resistance to the word can't.
Mm-hmm.
You have a strong subscription to can,
Yeah.
right? And because you have the strong belief that you can, then you can.
Mm-hmm.
People think it's a cute saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I don't say cute shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I'm saying a saying, trust me, it's deep.
Yeah.
Whether you believe you can or you can't, you are always right. Simply by believing that you can't closes the door to possibility and the brain
Yes.
shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
You believe you can, that doesn't mean right now. That doesn't mean I know how to. That doesn't mean I have the funds.
Mm-hmm.
What it means is I'm going to make shit happen and
Mm-hmm.
make it happen, and
Mm-hmm.
I can.
Yeah.
Opens the door to
It
possibility.
does. It really does.
Now, this is the demonstration of the power of mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can't walk upstairs, right? So, two things like one, the inner brat gets triggered.
Yep.
Two, right next to that is the fuck you button.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Watch this space.
Yeah. Watch what I'm going to do now.
And the arms get crossed and bang, up and down you go. Because in your mind, it's don't you dare tell me what I can and can't do.
Yeah.
I can. The belief then made it happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then the other part is the other saying is be careful what you aim for because you just might get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Laura, over the next 2 years, we'll get you to walk up. Fuck it, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Don't give me goals over there
No.
because I won't be happy in 2 years being able to walk. I want to walk up a stair today.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you set the goal. Today is my happy day where I'm going to walk upstairs. And one of two things is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm either going to get my ass 1, 2, 3 halfway up those stairs, or I'm going to die trying.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's
Yep.
the shift in mindset. So what
Yeah.
happens is because now your brain is controlling the body versus the body controlling the brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I know medically there are certain things that this is not going to work in, right? If you sever your spinal cord,
Mm-hmm.
I get it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that this is, that you can simply just brain your way into doing all these sorts of
Of
things.
course not.
However, within a certain scope, you absolutely can.
Yes.
So I was told when I went in that I'm going to be a cripple for the rest of my life. They told me that I need a minimum level 3 reconstruction of my lower spine because when I went in, they said your coccyx has like 3 fractures in it. Your fifth lumbar is snapped in half. It sits 1.5 centimeters below your coccyx, and 4 of your bottom discs are disintegrated. Your fifth one is prolapsed.
Wow.
And they're saying how, like, you should not be able to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to go to rehabilitation and they get you in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've probably done some pool work.
No, I haven't, but it has been offered to me, and I do know that it is quite a common, like rehabilitation thing. Yeah.
And also, it's kind of like, this is where it all fucking started, don't you? Is this some type of sick joke?
Yeah.
Get out of the pool and you walk up and kick someone and go, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, basically.
But they send you to the pool. And I had this moment. So I used to swim a mile every single morning.
Wow.
And I would get faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And I remember because I was angry. I'd lost everything. I was angry. I was in a bad place. And I remember going into the change room. And back in those days, above the basin, there would be a mirror, but the mirror was just stainless steel.
Mhm.
Right. And I remember I had my hands on the basin. I'm looking into this stainless steel mirror. And when you walk into a changing room at 5 o'clock in the morning back in those days, the place would be full of cripples, people
Okay.
with back injuries.
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever walked into a male change room with 50 and 40, 50 and 60-year-old men with back injuries, but you see a lot of saggy balls with men bending over trying to pick. It is not pretty, right?
Oh.
And I've just experienced this, and I'm looking in this mirror, and I was just like, this is not your story.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had a bit of a psycho moment.
Mhm.
I'm like, this is not your story. And then I start pointing into the mirror. This is not your story. This is, I turn around to the people in the bathroom. I'm like, this is not, your story is not fucking my story.
Wow.
Right? I had
Yeah.
tears running down my
Wow.
face. From that, I'm like, that is not going to be my story.
No.
And after that, I rehabilitated. I raced enduro. I raced motocross. I got my brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow.
And the Victorian champion, Australian champion, Pan Pacific champion.
Wow.
Did it on the world stage. This is all after that when they told me I'm going
Wow.
to be a cripple for the rest of your life.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
I'm 53 years of age, and next year I'm competing in a bodybuilding competition.
Wow.
It's like, don't tell me what I can't do.
No, and like that has always been such a big thing in my life. Like it's actually, I guess, kind of the reason why I'm in the racing industry because my love was for standardbred horses. And as you would know, being a horse person, they are not well respected in the wider equestrian community more than being a harness horse or a cart horse, or more than being like a happy trek or trail horse. You know, like oh, mum needs a horse. Oh, we'll get her a standardbred.
Yep.
So that's how my love for the racing industry like began because I had this huge love for standardbred horses. I was around them my entire childhood and that kind of thing. And then when I got into rehoming them, some people were like, "Oh, you can't do that. It's a standardbred." Or there were so many comments like, "What is that a standardbred?" Because I was always pushing expectations. Like I'd turn up to the local show jumping competitions and they'd be like, "Oh my God, Laura Burrell's on like another standardbred again," and like all the mothers and children would be like snickering. I'd beat them.
Oh.
Me and my little standardbred, we would kill it. We would like take home all the ribbons and like everything else. Like I remember going out like eventing, they'd be like, "Oh, she's not gonna have much luck on that standardbred." Go clear, beautiful dressage test. And yes, they were a pacer, which to non-horse people means that they move in
Yep.
a different way that isn't what you want for a riding horse. So they're trained to be pacers. But did they pace in this dressage test? No, they performed it beautifully, like danced away like they should. And so I was always pushing these expectations because it was the same thing. Like you're saying that these horses can't, and you're putting them in the same category that they can't do it or they won't do it. And I'm going to prove to you that they can and they will. Like, and that's how my kind of my social media following and stuff got because I was just beating all these expectations which should not be in there in the first place because they're a breed of horse just like every other breed of horse.
Yeah.
But I was pushing all these expectations and these boundaries all the time. That's kind of how my social media following started, and then that's kind of what led me into the racing industry and that kind of thing. But it's the same thing. Like that's not the mindset to have.
No,
Like the can't, won't. Like no,
no.
I can and I will and I am, and I'm going to show you how it's done.
100%, 100%. So you're now towards the mid end of your rehabilitation?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I still attend my physio, my out of hospital physio twice a week. So I attend, like, I go see her on Tuesdays and Thursdays after work. But the sessions with her, so they started with her just kind of like, we'll get you walking on the treadmill today, like really slowly, to now like I'm like running on the treadmill and I'm like riding the bikes in there, like the that kind of thing for a few Ks. And then she sets out on the floor like a whole heap of exercises, like I have to jump in certain things, like run in certain patterns, that kind of thing. And I do all of that and then lift a whole heap of weights. So I used to go to physio and be like, Yay, I'm gonna walk on a treadmill for the next half an hour, and now I leave there in like a full sweat because
Yeah,
it's like an actual gym workout. So I still attend those sessions twice a week, and then I go to my own gym most evenings, and I'm back working full time. So I'd say I'm definitely near the end of kind of this whole injury recovery.
yeah,
But
beautiful.
the hospital has marked me off like the eye doctors because they said to me that it was unlikely that I would have very good vision in my damaged eye. So they had me in for their last consultation a few months ago, and I can say that my eye is above 20/20, so it doesn't even need like
Wow.
any glasses or anything. And
Yep.
they scratch their heads. They're like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
And done most of my last kind of, maybe they'll do like a few more a time, but my kind of like brain checks and kind of things like that. So essentially, it's just physio is the last thing that I guess is kind of holding me down, but it's still something that I see as necessary.
Yeah, beautiful. So, what does an average day look like for you now?
Yeah, so an average day for me is my alarm goes off at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I make sure that I'm on the road and leaving my house by at least 3:30 in the morning. So I just like get up and brush my teeth and get dressed, and I make myself a coffee in a travel mug. And then I drive to work, and I live right on the freeway, and my work is about a 45-minute commute from my house. So it's easy as it's just straight on the freeway. And so I just listen to Spotify, just have the time of my life, drinking my coffee, driving to work. And then I get to work, and I'm at work usually from just after 4 in the morning till whatever time we finish, which is usually about 9:30. Some days it can be as late as 11. And so I'm just doing all the ground stuff at the moment with the horses. So all the stuff that I've always done forever, essentially, that we all have to do as horse owners and stuff. The only difference was I was in a ridden role previously, but now because of my injury, I'm not riding the horses. I'm just doing all the ground stuff.
Yeah.
So it's from making their feeds and feeding them to washing the ones that have been exercised because they get a bit sweaty, so you need to wash it off, and drying them, rugging them, just doing all the day in and day out, that is required for looking after a horse.
Yeah.
And so I do that till, mid-morning, and then I tend to drive home. So I drive 45 minutes back to my house, and then I may go ride my own horse because I was very lucky that I actually have a beloved ex-harness racing horse.
Yep.
His name is Classy Brigade, and he was raced and trained by my harness racing stable in New Zealand. And he was one of their superstars on the track. And
Right.
so one day when I was living and working in the harness racing industry full-time in New Zealand, and I was driving their horses a little bit, but just mainly doing the ground stuff, as I've just mentioned, um, my boss turns to me, who's also his race day driver, and he said, "Hey, Laura, can you please bring your saddle in tomorrow morning?" And I was like, "My saddle? Like, these are harness racing horses. Like, yes, I train them under saddle when they're retired and I rehome them, but bringing my saddle to ride one that's still in a cart." I was like, what is this man thinking? Anyway, so I bought my saddle, and he said to me, "We've made the decision to retire Classy last night. He just isn't trying as hard as he was previously on the track, and would like you to break him in." And so I broke him in that day, and I actually rode him down the beach that day.
How beautiful.
And in front of Harness Racing New Zealand and his whole ownership group and that kind of thing. And his owners turned around, his racing owners, and said to me, "Laura, can you keep on training him for us?" And I said, "Absolutely," because I already had a very respected name in retraining these harness racing horses to be riding horses. So I took Classy home with me, and he actually never ended up leaving. He
Right.
has been with me for close to 4 years now because his racing owners could see how much that I loved him and appreciated him, and they gifted him to me, which as a racehorse rehomer, I was dealing with horses coming and going all the time because I was rehoming them. But this horse just had such a hold on me, and I just can't explain it. I get all emotional talking about it.
Beautiful.
But yeah, we just know each other very well. But yeah, he was a very successful harness racing horse. I think he probably won about 21 races, and he placed second or third in 55 of them. And he actually raced in the New Zealand Trotting Cup. I think he ran third place,
Right.
and he holds the New Zealand record. So he essentially got flown to Australia for me by all my friends, my family, my racing connections, and a lot of my social media followers donated money to get him on an airplane for me. So when I was released from hospital, I went to my Australian home and he was standing there waiting for me.
It's
Which,
beautiful.
yeah, it's gonna make me cry, but it was pretty cool.
It's so beautiful. It's so
Yeah,
beautiful, so meaningful.
yeah. So, oh, I love that horse a lot. She doesn't cry about her injury or her accident, but she cries about her horse. Oh, but
That's so special.
essentially, after work, I go hang out with him, and then so I go hang out with him for a little bit, and then I am on a split shift, so I drive back to work,
Yep.
and I'm there for a couple hours, and then I go to the gym.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
But it's just so cool just having the ability to function and have a routine again because in hospital with my injury, I was not able to stay awake for, at the beginning, probably longer than 10 minutes. And even when I was at the point of being discharged, not even longer than half an hour,
Yeah,
maybe 45 minutes. So to think that I can even drive the 45 minutes to work this massive day, drive home, do everything else, and drive back is just insane.
it's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an absolute gift.
No.
Yes, you're a gift. You're an example to women all over the world. Anyone that hears this story is literally getting gold. Getting gold because it's coming from someone with lived experience. This isn't learned practice from a book. This isn't theory. This isn't someone preaching bullshit. This is someone that's done, lived the experience and is now sharing it. And you've done it with grace. You've done it with beauty. You've done it with optimism. You're an absolute superstar.
Thank you.
An absolute superstar. No, it's literally thank you. Um, if there is one major takeaway um, that you can share with people, what would it be?
Yeah. Um, my big quote, which a lot of people, again, such as my mother, she's also had a very life-changing accident. She was actually paralyzed in a car accident before I was born, but when she was in her early 20s, and she was a very successful horse rider and that kind of thing. So safe to say, being a paraplegic, it completely, threw her life out of balance. But one thing that I love to say is that I do believe everything happens for a reason. And my mum then says, Laura, if everything happens for a reason, why the hell did you have your accident and why did I have mine?
Yeah.
And the reason that I like that quote is because necessarily, okay, I don't think it happens for a reason. It's more the reason, like it has happened, it has happened, and it's all that we have to focus on now is how we're going to move on from it and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
essentially, everything happens for a reason because it does, and in some sense it does. Like I am so proud of the person I have become both mentally and physically from this accident. Like I'm now lifting weights at the gym that are much heavier and physically so much stronger than I was pre-accident, and I know mentally I am so much stronger too, and I would not be this version of myself if this accident and these events had not happened.
Yeah.
So I do believe everything happens for a reason, but like it's just you can be put through so many situations in life and you just have to respond wisely and you have to choose how you're going to respond because I easily could still like they originally said that I'd been in hospital for at least 2 years in these rehabilitation hospitals. I could easily still be in there. I could be sitting in a room not necessarily milking the medical system because I did have a severe injury, but I could be sitting in my hospital room crying, saying, I wish I didn't go to work that day. This is so unfair, whatever. But I chose to just get on with it and carry on.
Yeah. Yeah. Choice, mindset, uh,
So important.
and the ability to stay on the side of can, not can't,
Hmm.
will change your life. So
It will.
it's a beautiful message. I believe that, everything happens for a reason. And we're not going to always understand that reasoning.
No.
It's one of those things. It's by being raised by a mum who's a paraplegic. Perhaps that's what you needed in order to recover, to be able to have the mindset that you have.
Yeah, and I'm so extremely grateful for my mum. I mean, my mum and my dad, they are together, but
Yeah.
essentially, she's just the most independent, amazing woman ever. Like, I always knew her as a paraplegic, but I didn't see the wheelchair or nothing. Like, that is my mum. Like, I'd often have kids at school be like, "Oh, it must be weird having a mum in a wheelchair," but why would it be weird to me? That's all I've ever
Oh, you
known.
know, correct.
I had nothing to compare it to. And no, it wasn't weird because she is the most independent, badass person ever. Like,
Yeah.
she's amazing, and yeah, she definitely gave me a sense of independence from very young. And I know that my future children are probably going to be a force to be reckoned with too, because I'm very much
100%.
my mother's daughter. She's very much her mother's daughter, and I'd say my children are probably going to be the same.
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, with these life tests, that's where character comes from.
Mhm.
You don't get resilience in a Wheaties packet.
Mm.
You get resilience by falling down and having to get back up, or by being beaten down and having to get back up. It's where it comes from.
Yes.
You've done your doctorate in resilience.
Mhm.
Bravery is facing adversity when you don't want to. It's converting fear and shame into determination, and you've done that. You've done your
Yeah.
doctorate in bravery,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? You have.
Yeah. And I just think too, like, life, there are always going to be things that we struggle with and find difficult. Like, yes, I've had this major event, but there's not to say that maybe something else might not happen or something awful. Like, actually, a conversation that I actually had with a doctor the other day, she was like looking at my medical notes and she said to me, "Oh, you're from Christchurch, New Zealand." And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "That's the city that had the major earthquakes, didn't it?" Because it's quite known that that city, we lost our entire city basically. We had no power, internet, nothing for about 6 weeks. And I said to this doctor, I said, "Yeah." I said, "I am from Christchurch." She said, "Wow, you must have not been very old in the earthquakes." And I replied and I said, "I was 9 years old and I was actually in the epicenter and I was caught in town
Yeah.
during the quakes." And she was like, "What?" And then, yeah, she was just very surprised by that. And then she was like, "Oh, so when did you move to Australia?" I was like, "Oh, I moved the end of March, whatever." And she's like, "Your accident date was like the start of April," this kind of thing. And then she was like asking me, like, "Oh, it must be hard, being in Australia on your own, that kind of thing. Like, do your like brothers or sisters or whatever come over and visit you?" I'm like, "I'm an only child, and like I was raised very independently, and I moved out of home when I was 18." And this doctor was like, "Who the heck is this lady?" But like that's what like the thing. Like, yes, this was quite a major impact, quite a major event in my life. But I've had many of things happen to me, as have you, as has every single person watching this. We've all had bad things happen because that's just how life goes. Because you have to have the bad things to appreciate the good. Because if life was always good all the time, there would be no good moments. There'd be no bad moments. You have to
Correct.
have these bad things happen to appreciate the good times.
Correct.
But yeah, like other events and other things may happen, but you just got to continue with this positive mindset to get through.
Absolutely. 100%. You're an inspiration. Now, just to finish with, I
Mhm.
want to just finish on your business. Your
Okay.
business is going from strength to strength. Your apparel is coming out. So give
Yes.
yourself a quick plug.
Yeah, so when I was 16, I began rebranding the X-race horses and the horses that I was training on behalf of people under my own name, which was called White Rose Equine. And then as time has got on, it has definitely kind of taken off and become more of a thing. But essentially, White Rose Equine is my brand name, and I want to kind of be known as someone that, is successful in rehabilitating and rehoming X-race horses. But I also eventually in Australia, because in New Zealand, I was pre-training racehorses. I was rehoming ex-racehorses, riding racehorses, that kind of thing. Everything racehorses, everything non-racehorses, whatever. But essentially, I don't know what direction my business will be going in Australia, but I can tell you it is definitely going to be somewhat with racehorses and somewhat with horses.
Yep.
And there will be apparel and that kind of thing available too, which I think is amazing that so many of my followers want to support me in that avenue, which is cool. A lot of people would like to wear my logo around, which just makes me feel so proud because it is something that I designed when I was 16 because I said to myself, right, I'm doing this. And still doing it.
Love it. So if people want to buy any of your apparel,
Yeah,
put the links the
yeah.
in the description so they can get access.
Yeah, so there won't be any apparel and things released just yet, but if you have links to my social media, they'll be able to see what's going on and stay updated. But yeah, there'll be apparel and things available eventually, but it'll be more my services with horses that I'll be advertising, whether it's somebody wanting advice with their horse, that kind of thing. They just want me to go give them lessons or go ride their horse kind of thing, or sell it on behalf, or taking on ex-race horses to find them their next, their next journey.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, here's an interesting little just a little extra. The way in which I came around, I got your content. My daughter first found you. My daughter
Okay.
she's just finishing her last stages of being a vet nurse.
Oh, wow.
She's ridden horses all her life. She's horse crazy. Um, and she saw your post. And she's like, Dad, you have to check out this woman. She's incredible.
Um,
Now, my daughter's 25.
mhm,
Sorry, 23.
mhm.
And she shared your post with me. I got your post, read through your post, and I'd sort of lost the attachment to where it came from. And then the other
Wow.
day I said, I'm doing a podcast with this most incredible woman. She's amazing. You're not going to believe it. She's like, I showed you, and when she went, I sent you that, Dad. So
Well,
you are making an impact in lives of everyone that you touch. You're a high value woman. You're an amazing, inspirational person. And I am so grateful that you've joined us on the Fuck Therapy podcast.
thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. It has been so lovely to talk to you and learn about your history, not only with horses, but your medical history too. It is so inspiring. And
Beautiful.
thank you for taking the time to meet people and to share people's stories and that kind of thing, because without people like you spreading these messages of hope, like I know from personal experience as someone who's very much struggled with their mental health, that I got through that by seeing other people's stories and other people's struggles and how they got through, and that made me feel so much less alone. So thank you for dedicating time to doing this.
So welcome. You're so welcome. You're amazing.
Thank you.